All right, welcome back, everybody, to Ask Us on the Trap Talk Podcast. As always, email us at askus@traptalkpodcast.com. We have another question coming in from Griff, and Griff writes in and says, do you feel like the top single barrel is preferred versus the unsingle barrel for one-eyed shooters? Thanks, Griff. All right, guys, take it away.
Yeah. I mean,
I think 100%. I think 100% you have a preference. As Ricky has told me, the terminology is barrel awareness. But for me, my dad, he shoots one-eye shooter, one-eyed shooter, and he shoots a top single MX3. And for him, he has a lot of trouble when he starts not seeing the barrel or not having that barrel awareness going to the target. And I've known a lot of one-eyed shooters that use the tip of the gun or pointing off the tip of the gun. And it seems to work really well for them. I'm not saying that you can't use an unsingle, but I have seen more people that are one-eyed, closing an eye, shoot top singles and over-unders with success in general than unsingles. I mean, what do you think, Rick?
Look at the top one-eyed shooter ever was Nora Martin,
Nora.
Yeah.
And Nora, excuse me. She, she's always shot a top single as far as I've known. I mean, I think she tried an unsingle a couple times, but you get, and I can shoot one eye, and I've done this, my wife shoots one eye, and Jody at her best shot a top single. And that's why we went back to a top single for, but I've taken her gun out and shot at two eyes, and I'm like, yeah, okay. And I've shot, that's why, when I teach, I'll shoot everything I've done. I've tried. So when I tell someone something, I've tried it. So I can't say, oh yeah, do this. And then people go, why? Well, I've tried it. So I've shot, close of my eye. And with an unsingle, you just have this little rib and a bead, and you're kind of like, versus the top single, you always have that barrel, and why I call it the barrel awareness. You're aware of your barrel versus an unsingle. You have a little bit of a detach depending on the height. Now, 10, 15, 20 years ago, an unsingle, the rib was a lot shorter. You could do that. But now with this new, with the Krieghoff Trap Special rib, or even let's go into the pro rib of a Trap Special. That's even taller. Then you get, a lot of disconnect. So,
which one are you shooting, Ricky? Which rib do you shoot?
Just a trap.
Oh, and the pro is taller than the Trap Special?
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Zach?
What it is, the angle. Zach and I are shooting the same. The angle is what it is the height back, by the monoblock is higher. So then you get the more taper, so you get a higher POI.
Okay, so if you get the pro rib on a K80,
you get a higher back and a lower front.
Got it. Okay.
Now you can get out of it.
What does Rich Bullard shoot? Because he shoots a top single. Is he two eyes?
Yeah, Rich shoots two eyes,
right? Yes. So there
are Perazzi MX10,
but he's an old. Well, it's a high tech 10 now, I think, that he switched over to. But he so definitely some of the older shooters, because that's all they had, right? Top singles, like there was.
Yeah, unsingles weren't very common. I mean. Now, I got my first unsingle in 1989, and, there wasn't a lot of people shooting them, back then. They, Krieghoff was kind of the main with the traditional unsingle. I call it the old unsingle, and Mr. Krieghoff would say, Rick, it's the traditional Krieghoff. So,
traditional.
We call it the traditional Krieghoff.
The OG model.
Yeah, the OG, and then we have the ACS, which is a little bit taller than the traditional. Then you have
Zach's
the Trap
old gun,
Special, and then you have the pro ribs.
Right.
So, yep.
Yeah. So
and I think if you're using OG, if you're using that flat rib OG unsingle, then you can still kind of see that barrel at some level. Mm-hmm. And I've seen some guys that shoot, like in a lady, Lauren Mueller, she shoots an unsingle, but it's a flat rib unsingle. It's not one of those high rib, a lot of distance in between. It's just like at that same level where you still have barrel reference at some amount.
Yes. So asking for a friend, how does that compare to the MX 2000 height?
Which one?
2000
like
is like us. It's high. It's higher. It's almost as high. It's not quite as high as the K80, but it's higher than those.
Yeah. Okay. It's not as high as my 05, but okay. No. So I'm using like a dot.
Like if you wanted, an 05 is like even higher than a pro rib K80.
Okay. So like, for example, I use the dot, I shoot an 05, so I'm shooting an unsingle, right? And I still get a lot of peripheral vision though, right? Okay. Where I think you guys with your left eye get a lot of reference out of the barrel with your left eye. So the top single,
we get all the reference. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Makes sense. Well, Griff, thank you very much for the question. Let's try those top singles for those one-eyed shooters out there. So as always, everyone, email us your questions at askus@traptalkpodcast.com, and we'll get these two guys to answer them for you. Thank you.
Thank you.